One of the greatest seasons in Mariners history has unfortunately come to a close after an historic night at T-Mobile Park on Saturday. And we've had a couple of days to sit and reflect on the loss and the end of this incredible journey this team took us all on. And now we're ready to talk about it. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is Monday, October 17th, 2022. This is Ty Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners podcast. We're back. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. Subscribe, like, and turn on alerts if you're watching on YouTube, or subscribe and leave a 5-star review on your preferred podcast platform if you like what you hear. And if you want to hear from us even more, please consider signing up for our Patreon. The link as well as our social accounts is in the description below. Now, tomorrow's show will give this team a proper send-off, but today we'll touch upon a little bit of everything from Saturday's game, including George Kirby's incredible start and just the legendary performance by the Mariners pitching staff as a whole, how this game exposed the Mariners' biggest weakness and showed exactly what they need to accomplish this offseason. And just we're going to talk about the overall atmosphere at T-Mobile Park for its first playoff game in 21 years, because it was absolutely electric. Whether you were at the ballpark or not, you could tell. And we're going to get Colby's perspective on that with him being there. But Colby, the Mariners, after the series, and yeah, they got swept and it was rough, but they have established now an actual rival, not a forced rivalry like with the Padres or what have you, like a real rival that Mariners fans can truly hate. And that's good. That's good, because that means that you're actually doing something as an organization. That means that you're actually accomplishing something as a baseball team. But, you know, Colby, as the Astros let us know on Twitter, they refuse to lose. They embrace the chaos, and they'll see us next year.
Yeah, things you definitely say when you're absolutely not threatened by an up-and-coming team that really outplayed you for a majority of 3 straight games and very easily could be headed to the ALCS right now. Because yeah, they're beneath you, so you don't take those shots. Right? I mean, that's just logical, but I guess, you know, if you're threatened by somebody, you try and take them down a few pegs when you still have some power. But unfortunately for them, it's not going to work. I'm just here to let Houston Astros fans know, and I know some of you have been trolling the show recently. Guys got to be careful, because I'm telling you right now, nobody does petty in sports better than the city of Seattle. And if you don't believe me, you can go ask Russell Wilson what he thinks about it. You can go ask Oklahoma City Thunder what they think about it. So yeah, we'll see how it goes, but just understand something. It's going to come around on you. I know some of you guys are smart out there. Some of you Astros fans, there's a few smart ones of you, and you can read the writing on the wall of how things are starting to shift, right? Maybe you're on top right now, but things are starting to shift. And you just had, well, let's see, 36 innings of playoff baseball as, you know, kind of a proof of concept that things are starting to shift. The gap between these two teams has never been smaller. Mariners have a long way to go, but they've never been closer. And they have the money, they have the resources, they have the prospects that they can turn this thing into a real battle for the supremacy of the division for the next half decade, as we wait for Texas or Oakland or the Angels to step their game up. So,
don't worry, we don't need to wait for the Angels.
That's true. Congratulations. You guys were the better team. No question about it. You won 3-0. You won by 4 games, or by 4 runs. Wow. Domination. Yep. Definitely reason to talk smack for a team that's been to 6 straight ALCSs. We beat this peasant of a team by 4 runs. Okay. Good luck against Houston. Good luck against New York or Cleveland. We'll see how it goes for you. But yeah, I'm sure you're feeling great about how your team played over the last 3 games.
Yeah, I'd say that Houston has a very good path to winning a championship this year, whether they face New York or Cleveland, plus San Diego and Philly on the other side of things. Like, they're not going to have to face the Dodgers. They're not going to have to face the Braves. Like, yeah.
Boy, they better do it this year then.
They really do. Because
how many ALCSs can you go to without another championship before it's really not for anything? Like imagine you go play the Yankees, right, and you lose 4-2. All that smack talk to play 6 extra games that didn't mean anything.
It's very like
Ooh,
Buffalo Bills-esque. Do you want to be the Buffalo
yeah,
Bills, or do you actually want to be like, a good team that actually wins
yeah.
championships, that actually, finishes at the end of things, like doesn't just make
Right.
it to the dance, actually, dances their asses off. Which I know
Yeah.
the Mariners did a lot
Well,
this year, and I know that the Astros are dancing their way to the ALCS. But I'm just gonna say this: as much as Astros fans have let me know on Twitter that this is a championship baseball team, that I could never imagine that, as a Mariners fan, which is true. I've never watched a championship baseball team in my life. I've never rooted for a championship baseball team in my life. Totally true. Totally fair point. It's really weird, though, for a team that's made it to 6 straight ALCS, has made it to a few World Series, that you're really celebrating the hell out of winning the ALDS.
again, something you definitely do when you're not threatened by the team you just beat. Yeah, we don't think about you guys at all. You guys are nothing to us.
So it's fine. Hey,
Sure.
you get your ALDS win now. That's cool. You beat the Mariners. That's great. And hey, I didn't have any expectations of the Mariners actually winning this series. I went on Locked On Astros and I said Astros in 5. I was a couple games off. I mean, technically 1 game off if you want to count Saturday's game as 2 games, which you literally could, because it was quite literally 2 games, 36 innings. And of 30 of those 36 innings, the Mariners were either tied or had the lead. So pretty close. But at the end of the day, the Mariners did not win this series, and for a lot of reasons. One being their offense, which I think we should get into right now, because the offense was not good on Saturday. And this showed you exactly what the Mariners' weakness is as a whole. They don't have enough pieces in place, offensively speaking, to beat quality pitching, which the Astros have a lot of. By the way, I just want to make it clear. My beef is with Astros fans and the Astros social media team, not the actual team itself, not the actual Astros. They're a really good team. No beef whatsoever with those guys. That's a really good team. A lot of talent. Yordan Alvarez is awesome. That pitching staff is disgusting, and you saw it. But this Mariners offense is just not built yet to beat quality pitching like that. Lance McCullers just shredded through them. Julio was just completely, utterly confused by Lance McCullers' slider. And that's really the story at the end of the day. The Mariners didn't have depth offensively to score any runs. They had opportunities. They had a couple guys in scoring position at times with, a chance to walk it off, and just couldn't get that hit. Usually, like, when they were able to get someone on base, their 2, 3, 4 guys were not able to drive them in. Ty France had some really rough at-bats. Adam Frazier had some really rough at-bats in the 6 or 7 hole, wherever he was in the lineup, and he had a couple of opportunities to walk it off. That's just what it ultimately came down to. Just the Mariners just don't have enough offensive firepower to go out and beat elite pitching when it really matters right now. And so that's what they have to work on this offseason. I think that's really the biggest goal heading into the offseason, is building an offense that can actually beat the Garrett Coles of the world, the Justin Verlanders of the world. And yeah, they had success against Verlander last Tuesday, but you need to be able to rely on that more, not to just like look at that and be like, that's kind of a fluke. And like the next time we see Verlander, that's not going to happen again. Like, you want to have at least a little bit of confidence going into any single game that you're going to be able to score at least a couple of runs, because not being able to score any runs through 18 innings of baseball against any pitching staff, that's bad.
Yep.
So this is what we're going to be talking about all off season long, really, with this offense. Is you got to add more firepower. You got to add elite offensive talent. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to be, saying the Mariners need to go out and sign Aaron Judge, but we're going to be talking a lot.
They could.
Yeah, but we're going to be talking a lot about, the Xander Bogaerts of the world, the Carlos Correas of the world, the Andrew Benintendis of the world, the Brandon Nemos of the world. We're going to be talking about trade targets, all that stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, so I want to give props to this Mariners pitching staff, because, in order to get to 18 innings of ball without scoring a single run, you needed to be pretty darn good pitching-wise, and they were excellent from top to bottom. And it all started with George Kirby. We'll be talking about his day and the pitching performance from the Mariners bullpen in just a moment. But real quick, a reminder, this episode of Locked On Mariners is brought to you by Simply Safe. The numbers don't lie. In the last decade, over 4 million people have chosen Simply Safe home security to protect their home. You don't earn the trust of that many people without doing something right. And at Simply Safe, your safety is the only thing that matters. I know because I use Simply Safe in my own home. They protect you with cutting-edge security technology powered by 24/7 professional monitoring agents who always have your back. Here's why I love it. With 24/7 professional monitoring, Simply Safe's agents call you the moment a threat is detected and dispatch police or first responders in an emergency, even if you're not at home or can't be reached. Simply Safe blankets your home in protection with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door. HD security cameras for inside and outside your home. Smarter ways to detect motion that only alert you when a threat is real. And even hazard sensors that instantly detect fires, floods, and other threats to your home. Customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/lockedonmlb. Save 20% on your Simply Safe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan and get your first month free. Visit simplysafe.com/lockedonmlb to learn more. There's no safe like Simply Safe. You're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. George Kirby, man. George Kirby. What can you say? I mean, this was an elimination game in the first playoff game at T-Mobile Park in 21 years, and you're a rookie. And you're going up against the defending AL champs, the team that has gone to 6 straight ALCS, a team with tons of firepower throughout its lineup, including Yordan Alvarez and Jose Altuve and Kyle Tucker, all those guys. And it just didn't faze George Kirby whatsoever. He goes 7 scoreless innings in this one, gives up just 6 hits, a lot of them just kind of little dink and dunk shots. And he strikes out 5, doesn't walk anyone. I mean, the Mariners pitching staff as a whole only walked 1 guy the whole game for all 18 innings. They had a couple of hit by pitches, but that was it. And, I mean, he got into some trouble there, especially in the, I believe it was the 7th inning that he got into trouble, and Pete Woodworth came out, kind of calmed him down. I think he was like even cracking a joke with him or something, and like George kind of like turned his back on Woodworth and like didn't even want to talk to him. And then he comes back and gets the next couple outs. It was awesome. This was a legendary pitching performance by George Kirby and a huge moment. And I mean, it's got to make you feel confident for his career in general that he can, like, if he can do this now in a big game like that, given all the circumstances and not even look phased whatsoever by it, like, that's got to give you confidence that this dude is like really, really special.
Yeah. It was interesting. You're facing elimination. Kirby's in a little bit of trouble there in the 7th, and and I believe Altuve's up, and you're sitting there like, okay, well, he got the 9-hole guy out, fine, whatever. But now this is Altuve. Kirby's, getting to the end of the road. Probably go ahead and make it the change, and they didn't. They stuck with him, and of course he goes out there and he strike out Altuve. It's hard to remember. There were a lot of strikeouts in big situations from this pitching staff, but either way, he gets out of it. And it's that little difference right there is what turns the performance from like this great performance to like a legendary performance. It's getting that big out when the team finally has a threat, and everyone's like, okay, maybe they should make a change here. And Kirby got it, and he was just in total control of this game from start to finish. It was vintage Kirby. It's what we saw before the. He had a little bit of a swoon there in late September, and I don't know if that was fatigue or what that was, but it's basically what we saw from that first Orioles start until the start against Detroit. It was basically the same George Kirby, and the fact that he was able to maintain that level of dominance all year and then carry it into the playoffs really is something that's incredibly impressive, and Mariners fans should feel pretty confident knowing that they got a great one in George Kirby, and really should feel pretty confident about all the pitchers who threw in the playoffs this year. Possible exception here and there, but Luis Castillo had 2 amazing outings. You look at George Kirby, he had a great outing. Logan Gilbert's outing, probably the worst not made by somebody not named Robbie Ray, right? Probably the 4th best. and it was still 5 1/3 of 3-run ball against Houston, and 2 of those runs come on at like the cheapest double you'll ever see in your life. So yeah, it was a really good postseason for Mariners pitching, with the exception of one game. Yeah, Kirby just kind of capped it off, and that's definitely something to build on. Kirby probably enters this offseason as the Mariners' second best pitcher behind Castillo, which is
Agreed.
great to build on and plan ahead with.
He was sensational. And I mean, you think about the 2 moments that he appeared in this postseason, holding a 1-run lead in a hostile environment in Toronto to close for the first time in his career coming out of the bullpen. Did it. No issues whatsoever. And then this game, again, the first playoff game in Seattle in 21 years, an elimination game against the Houston Astros, and shuts them down. And obviously had some help with the shadows and all that stuff. But again, like 7 innings of shutout ball against that team in an elimination game. George Kirby is a dude. Like, I felt like, I usually go high upside with my Cy Young picks. Like, I went Shane McClanahan this year. There's a non-zero chance I'm taking George Kirby to win the Cy Young next year. I don't know if it'll actually happen, but I think when we do our preseason predictions, that's going to be a heavy consideration for me.
Yeah, when we do them in 5 months.
When we do them in 5 months. But, like, just thinking out ahead, like, this guy, like, he's got the juice, man. George Kirby's got the juice. Now let's talk about the bullpen, which was also equally phenomenal. And obviously, Penn Murphy gave up the home run in the 18th inning, whatever. This bullpen was nuts. Andres Munoz came in and looked like Andres Munoz. Thank God. 3 strikeouts. The slider was disgusting. Diego Castillo was probably the weakest link. Maybe Matthew Boyd. Going to old Dominican Big Boss in that moment was questionable, to say the least, and did not go well.
No, it didn't. I don't think we're allowed to bash Scott today too much because his offense scored 0 runs in 18 innings. So
yeah,
but yeah, we were going to nitpick a little bit, Santana or Castillo for the 9th in a tie game, and not Munoz for another inning.
In an elimination game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or Eric Swanson, who, by the way,
Finally.
is alive.
Did he look alive. Okay? Did he look okay? He looked okay to me. I don't know. I just,
I know, like, hindsight is 2020. I don't want to do this to myself, but it was hard to think about, or it was hard not to think about what that could have looked like on Tuesday when he struck out Yordan Alvarez on Saturday.
Didn't he strike out Tucker too? I'm pretty sure he did.
I think so. Yeah.
By the way, Ty, real fast. If I told you the Mariners were going to lose, all right, they were going to lose 1-0 in extras, would you have preferred that they lost by Swanson giving up a home run to Yordan, just so you could be like, okay, like I know that's not how it works for normal people, but like we're not talking rationality here. We're talking baseball. So
yeah.
Would you have preferred that, or did you like that Swanson went out there and just like shoved, and you're like, okay, well.
I mean, like,
what could have been?
It was pain, but I was so fired up in the moment too that it was like, oh my God, he just struck out Yordan. Like, he struck out Kyle Tucker and all this stuff. Like, we're still alive. Like, I ultimately didn't care in the moment, but again, it was hard not to think about what could have been on Tuesday. So
I really think if you won game 1, you would have won the series. But whatever.
All right. So if
we talk about that later.
After Diego comes out, though, he gave up a couple base runners. It was 2nd and 3rd after he got a sac fly. Scott comes out and gets him. Thank God he didn't let him try to work through it. I was a little worried about that. So good on Scott to at least recognize the mistake that he made and nip that in the bud and go to Matt Brash, who we said this season, if you were going to put Matt Brash in the bullpen, he was going to be that guy that if you need a strikeout, that's your guy. Like, it's strikeout or bust with Matt Brash, and he comes through with 2 of the biggest strikeouts, and I would say Mariners history, even though they didn't even win this game. I mean, it was massive, that moment. And I mean, it was just filth. It was filth. The sliders to Jose Altuve. Altuve had no idea what he was doing at the plate. He looked completely, utterly lost. I was surprised that Altuve didn't have a moment in this series at all, because it kind of felt like, he's struggling, but he's had such a great year. Like, he's finally going to break through. It got to like 0 for 14, 0 for 15, 0 for 16, and it's like he's going to come through here, and it just never happened.
Never got close, really, even.
Yeah.
Altuve still found a way to impact the game. He made a couple of really good defensive plays at second in game 2. But yeah, I think he finished this series 0 for 17. I think he got on base once on a fielder's choice. And he went 0 for 8 on Saturday. And the biggest one being the Matt Brash strikeout. Just calling White Castle because he was just serving up all those sliders all day. It's just funny. Altuve missed each one of the sliders by a wider and wider margin. He never even got close to making the adjustment on it. It was fun to see because, we saw Munoz. I'll clean it up a little for the show, but I had put out the idea that Munoz had his FU fastball going in his outing. It was really the first time we've seen him dominate with the fastball as opposed to the slider. Slider was still very good, but the fastball, he really used it this time around. Well, Brash brought out the FU sliders, and Altuve didn't have a chance. He was missing those pitches by like a foot, and he just kept on throwing the same exact pitch, and Altuve kept on swinging at it. The bullpen was amazing. It's Brash and Munoz kind of steal the show, but Penn Murphy was great.
Matt
Festa was great.
We have to talk about Paul Seawald. Threw the most pitches he had all year, and he's like worn down, and he's had some really awful outings as of late, and he got through it. It got a little dicey there, here and there, but like for the most part, he shoved, as you said. And that was a great way for him to end his season. You didn't want him to end his season the way that, things happened in game 1. Like you wanted to get his confidence going heading into the offseason, and I think he did that. And then some. What a performance by Paul Seawald, taking on that kind of volume of pitches and being able to finish that inning off. Because, with each out, even though that he was able to get through it and able to get through those at bats, I'm like, what is Scott doing? Like, why isn't he taking Seawald out? He's like over 40 pitches now. Like, what are you doing? Like, because we know that Seawald has kind of worn down here as of late, but I don't know. He didn't blow up. It kind of felt like the blow up was coming, and it just never happened. And he was able to make some huge pitches. The slider was really effective. A lot of good sliders in this game. Matt Festa, you mentioned him just now. 2 scoreless innings. Slider was great. Like, he was dominant. Really, like, all these guys were dominant aside from Matthew Boyd, Penn Murphy. I mean, even Murphy looked decent, despite giving up the home run to Pena. Like, these dudes, we've talked about this being one of the best bullpens in baseball. It looked like it. And they needed it to look like that.
True team effort. They used everybody, and they even had to dip down and use Robbie Ray again. Robbie,
he
got
fine.
It done. Yeah. No, he looked like he was using the slider a little bit more than his last outing. His last 2 pitch outing, both fastballs down the pipe. It was kind of nice. Robbie retires aside, and I don't know if you heard it on TV, but there was "Let's Go Robbie" chants and stuff like that.
That's good.
It was, there was no booing of Robbie Ray or anything like that. So it was a good reminder that Seattle fans are pretty good.
It's a good reminder that, like, hey man, we got your back. Like, a lot of people are saying some stuff about you right now, but hey, we got your back. You're ours, and look, like, Mariners fans don't really have a choice either, right? To root for Robbie Ray. Like, he's going to be back next year. Like, he's going to be a big part of this thing.
Sure. And again, I think people kind of overlook how good Robbie Ray was for a majority of the season. He just, was his absolute worst at the worst times. And sometimes that happens, but now in the stands where there are people like Robbie Ray, like, yes, I would say a majority of them, but outwardly, as far as he could hear, it was, let's go Robbie. And there's kind of a mini standing ovation when he got out of that inning. Mariner fans, they can be pretty annoying on socials, but at the ballpark, they're pretty great sometimes.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. At the end of this, they lose the game. People have been there for 6.5 hours or whatever, and I can't even imagine how you and everyone else there felt, because, like, me watching the game at home in the comforts of my bed for most of that game, I was tired of it. I was done. I didn't like. There was a point. Obviously, I wanted the Mariners to win, but there was a point where I'm like, just end it. I'm done watching baseball. I'm tired of watching baseball. I just want to move on. I don't care what happens at this point. Like, But at the end of that, let's go Mariners. The Astros are celebrating on the field. Let's go Mariners. Da, 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 da. That's awesome. That's such a great moment. That's such a great send off for this team. That's such a it's an appreciation. It's a love letter to this team. It's a thank you for taking us on this ride. I know that there was like a Reddit post that said like, oh, we should have a parade for this team. No, that's silly. But I do think that maybe there should be like maybe an event or something to just kind of say thank you to these guys. Maybe something at the ballpark or something like that. That would be cool. But I think that knowing that that's not going to happen, this was a really nice send off considering the disappointment that everyone just had experienced.
Yeah, that happens opening day 2023. So
yeah, but I mean, like some of these guys aren't going to be back and all that.
Good. I never have to see Adam Frazier swing his pool noodle called a bat again. I'll be the happiest person on earth.
Hey,
Thanks for the
disrespect. Don't disrespect the Slapton on this show. I will not let you disrespect the Slapton.
His swings were the worst swings I have ever seen on a professional athlete on Saturday. Oh my God, every single one of them was like a sword. Like it was so bad. But no, we will get to him when we do our second base preview, probably sometime next week. But no, it was an event, man. It certainly was. It's unfortunate. The game going so long, I think, kind of dampened the idea that people were going to, wait around for like a curtain call and stuff like that. Just because, again, 6 hours in, whatever it is. That's a long day at the ballpark, and it's a 1-0 loss in 18 innings. Like people, I think they just wanted like
a game like that really tests your love for baseball.
It does. And to people's credit, there were a few people who left, 13th, 14th inning, which I can even blame them for. I was like, okay, fine, whatever. But I would say the last out there was probably still 42,000 people there. Like I would say 95% of the crowd was still there. It was great. I could look down from where I was sitting and I could see like the people get up and the game's over and they exit and you can see like the wave of people leaving. And I saw that, I saw people after the home run, especially. And I was like, okay, well, people are leaving. And no, most of them came back down. So I don't know what had happened there, but it was a great crowd. Definitely ran out of some steam after about the 13th, 14th inning. A lot of people were just like, like I can't keep standing up and doing all this. So it was, emotionally draining day, but it was a good crowd. It was best crowd I've ever heard, at least innings 1 through like 12, 13, somewhere in that range. And then even the rest of the game, it was still a good crowd. Like, don't get me wrong, but it was definitely, you could tell it was just a worn down and just kind of like a, like there's like actual like physical tiredness had set in. Because, you got to pace yourself as a fan sometimes, but nobody's ever prepared to pace themselves for 18 innings. That just doesn't happen ever. So, it was a great crowd though. And it was a lot of fun, and there was a lot of appreciation from Mariner fans to the players. Not that many Astros fans. There was a little tiny streak of orange by their dugout, but that was it. It was a sea of white and navy throughout the ballpark. So it was a great experience. There weren't a lot of Astros fans in the ballpark. I happened to stand next to a couple of groups of Astros fans in line to get into the ballpark, but that was it. For the most part, it was all white, and those Astros fans were cool. Lady shared a story with us, the group I was with, that she's an Astros fan. She's from Texas. Her family was, and she told us a story about how back in 2003 or 4 or whatever, she was at a San Antonio Rockhounds game, or whoever the minor league affiliate is down there in San Antonio, and they waited outside of the clubhouse for an hour to get
Missions.
Felix Hernandez to sign his San Antonio
Mm.
Missions jersey, and Felix signed it. So it was a cool story to read. And yeah, I feel like for everybody at the ballpark, there's an appreciation that they were there, and it was just something that they witnessed. And I didn't hear of any fights or anything like that. Again, not a lot of Astros fans. There weren't. I didn't hear of any obnoxious Astros fans at the ballpark or anything like that. So I think it was just kind of a communal thing where even if there were, different factions in the ballpark, there seemed to be some kind of mutual respect about, two high quality baseball teams going to absolute battle with each other. And, unfortunately in a war of attrition, the team that's more heavily fortified often wins. And that happened to be the Astros.
Yep. But this is going to be a fun rivalry for many years to come, and the Mariners are on their way up, and the Astros know that. And that's the thing. Like, if you're actually getting legitimately upset about the tweets, you're being silly. What it ultimately is, to me, at least this is how I'm taking it, it's a sign of respect. It's a sign of great respect for your team. It's a sign that, like, they know what's like happening here. They know what's brewing here in Seattle, and that's great. And it's great that finally people outside of the state of Washington, and the few of us that are spread out across the world, respect the Seattle Mariners.
Right.
It's great.
And I mean,
that's a great thing.
Yeah, you look at some of the national guys, and they're talking about what an amazing atmosphere it was at the ballpark, and how Seattle's a baseball town. And we had talked in the past about Seattle as a baseball town, it's a sleeping giant. And one day a team's going to wake it up, and it's going to unleash, hell on the rest of Major League Baseball. And it happened. And you saw it. And I guarantee you this, not only did the national media people see it, so did other players. And they can recognize what's happening here is special.
So did agents. Yep.
Agents, fans, the league. You think Seattle's going to be on Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN a few times next year? I'd bet on it. So it was a great announcement from the city of Seattle and Mariners fans in general that we're here. You're going to recognize us. You're going to respect us, and sometime in the next year or two, you're going to fear us. And I think all those are going to come to fruition here.
So we're running a little late, but there were a couple things that we do need to mention. First of all, Felix. Getting Felix to throw out the first pitch. I had my doubts because, we know that the relationship between Felix and the organization hasn't been great since his exit. So there was a little bit of doubt in my mind that he would actually do it. But, I mean, I felt that you needed to have someone that was a part of the drought and a part of those dark years actually throw out the first pitch for the first playoff game in 21 years. And there was no one better to do that than Felix. Because, I mean, Ichiro had gone to the playoffs. Some of these other players had gone to the playoffs in Seattle. Felix, though, never. And that was such a beautiful moment. Oh, my God. I didn't see it live because they didn't show it on the broadcast.
Oh, that's messed up.
Yeah, I saw it on Twitter, though. And the emotions. I was overcome by the emotions of it all. It was awesome to see Felix again. That was really cool.
Yeah, the video they played beforehand was awesome. They didn't even announce turn your attention to center field, blah blah blah. It was just awesome. It was just up there, and it was just almost like a neon gold crown they put on the video board. And at that point, pretty much everybody knew it was going to be Felix. The buzz had started that he was in the ballpark, and obviously if he's there, right, he's there to throw out the first pitch. But yeah, it just popped up on the screen. I think you can find it on Mariners Twitter. I think they posted the video that they showed. It was a great video, and it was awesome. He came out of center field, and obviously they're playing, the man, as he walks to the mound. It was great. And then, Felix kind of took the lazy way out. He didn't go up on the rubber. And he kind of literally just shot put a baseball up there. It's
by the way,
Felix, buddy,
to have Goody catch it too.
Sure.
Perfection.
I would have thought Ichiro would have caught it, but yeah, I mean, Goody's great. Everybody loves Goody. So, kind of a weak first pitch from Felix, if I'm being honest. Awesome entrance though. And, he was a good hype man for some of the lull in the game where they'd flash him up in the box, and he tried to get people hyped. And it was just awesome to see him back at the ballpark because, the history of the Seattle Mariners can't be written without Felix Hernandez. He's the best pitcher in franchise history. And it'll be interesting to see what happens here. He hasn't officially retired. He's not coming back to Seattle to pitch. Don't worry, but he hasn't officially retired yet. And this will be his third year out of baseball, which means next summer would traditionally be when the team puts somebody in their team's Hall of Fame. Is Felix ready to accept that and officially say he's retired, because the league appears to have retired him for himself? But if they were going to do something like that, next summer would be the first summer they would usually do it. So we'll see. It was just nice to have him back in the ballpark, though. And
awesome to see him. Awesome to see him in a Mariners uniform again and doing something with the organization. And that gives me hope that, hey, like if he doesn't do the Mariners Hall of Fame next year, that it will happen soon.
Sure. I mean, he will be back. And I don't think there's any love lost between Felix and the fans. Between Felix and the organization, maybe a little bit, which is understandable from Felix's standpoint. But also, I'm not going to let Felix off the hook for the last 3 years he had here, but
yeah,
I'm also not going to like hold that against him forever. So yeah, hopefully it happens next summer. Maybe they can announce like a statue being built of him, because he absolutely earned it.
And it's going to be the perfect game.
Oh yeah. He's the Felixing. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's Felix's, it's a good reminder of how special Felix Hernandez is. And, how much Mariner fans love their guys. It's really a relationship that's tough to find anywhere else. Mariner fans are sometimes over loyal, but in this case, Felix,
and that's why we're going to get yelled at about our takes about Mitch Haniger.
Yeah,
just warning you guys now.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're not. You're not going to like what we have to say about Mitch Haniger this offseason.
No, but we're just being realist. You guys can be fans. That's fine. But in this case, Felix absolutely deserves the admiration that he received on Saturday.
For sure. All right. Lastly, you wanted me to remind you to shout out a listener of ours that you ran into.
So I actually ran into 3. I didn't catch the second guy's name. Unfortunately, we were kind of headed to our seats at the time. But want to give a shout out to Owen, who I met. Let's see, that was probably pregame. And I think
it was pregame, because you messaged me pretty early on.
Right. And then afterwards, on the way to my seats at the Kraken game, which I only got to see the last period of, 18 innings of baseball will make you late for a hockey game. I ran into another fan whose name, ironically, is also Owen. So shout out to the Owens. Yeah.
Wow.
And also shout out to the one gentleman whose name I didn't catch, who also said hello. So yeah, appreciate that. Hopefully we'll see you guys at the ballpark next year. Thanks Owens and Owen and somebody who I'm sure will reach out and tell us that was them.
What does your family think when you get recognized at the ballpark? Do they rib you a little bit over it?
I was with my aunts this time, and my cousin and my mom. We all went together, and yeah, my aunts think it's like this really super cool thing, and it is cool. It's fun to say hello to our listeners and all that stuff. I don't mind it at all, but yeah, sometimes they think it's like this huge deal, and I'm like, I'm just a dude on a podcast that he listens to. It's really not that huge of a deal, but no, I enjoy saying hello to you guys. So yeah, don't be afraid to say hello. I'm totally cool with it, but yeah, it's sometimes I think my family thinks it's like a bigger deal than I do. I'm just like, yeah, no, it's cool to meet people and all that stuff. No, isn't it awesome? I'm like, I mean, yeah, but not like, I don't know. Like, I'm not sitting here like, oh, I'm George Clooney and that's the paparazzi, right? No, it's like, oh, hey, cool. Thanks for listening to the show. Appreciate it.
Yeah, when my wife, or when I told my wife that I got, recognized a couple times at Rogers Center, she was like, "Oh my God, that's so amazing!" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's cool, but like, I don't have any delusions here either." Yeah. But yeah, I appreciate we appreciate you guys. Cool. We love you guys, and it's awesome to meet you guys and actually put faces to some of the comments and just some of our listeners in general. It's awesome.
Yeah. It's just understand that like we're not like yeah, I'm keeping track now. I've met 18 people, in the last 3 games. So pretty big deal. Like, we're not running to our bosses and bragging about it. You know what I mean? Unlike some people we know. But anyways,
yeah.
Shots fired.
Yeah, every time,
you know
every
who
time
you
I meet
are.
someone, hey guys, I took a picture with a fan. Look, I got recognized because I have. Oh, it's just so necessary for me to be recognized and for me to get a nice little pat on the back from everyone, even though
Yeah.
it just completely goes unread and completely ignored. Anyway, that's
Yeah.
gonna do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners.
Keep saying hi at
podcast.
the ballpark, guys.
Yeah, keep saying hi to us, and we love hearing from you. Keep sending us comments, keep sending us emails. We love to hear everything that you guys have to say. It's awesome, and we're going to be doing a lot of that, talking to you guys over the next few months as we make our way to spring training. We're going to have a lot of fun during the off season talking about trades and free agency. This is our shine. This is our moment. This is what we love to do the most on this show.
This is
And
what we
have
train for.
Yeah, exactly. And we have, a lot of new listeners that we've gained over the last few months. So just telling you guys, this is what we love to do the most is off-season talk. Obviously, we love to talk about when the Mariners are in the playoffs and contending for a World Series. That's great too. But Jerry's season, folks, Jerry's season is the best. And we're going to have a lot of fun covering it all. And we'll tell you more about what our plans are for that soon. But tomorrow, we're going to give these guys a proper send-off. We're going to do some... awards, some team awards and all that stuff later on this week. We're going to go, position by position, do some breakdowns, do some free agency previews, all that good stuff, and really get into the nitty gritty of this. But again, that's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Ty Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Dane Gonzalez, that's DANEGNZLZ, and Colby at CPAT11, that's CPAT11. You can also find all that stuff in the description of this episode. And thank you again for making us your first listen. Now make your second listen the Locked On MLB podcast. MLB expert Paul Francis Sullivan brings humor, passion, and unique perspective on every team and the biggest stories around the league. Follow the #1 daily league-wide podcast, Locked On MLB, on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts just like us. And with that, have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.